You talked about pedals, so let's talk about your gear.
Yeah.
What do you use regularly?
So on a regular basis, I use Tama. Tama, wonderful family. They, I've got so much love for them. Zildjian, Evans, drum heads, perfect match for the acoustic side of drums. But my thing is predominantly hybrid. So I use Roland Electronics as well, along with my playing. So I try to bring the best of both worlds. And Vic Firth drumsticks, for me, it's home, and protection racket cases and tuna fish lug locks, keep my tuning in gear. But yeah, these guys are they're all wonderful to me, and the gear that I use allows me to transcend my voice, along with my music.
Right.
That's what's really important, I have nothing against other companies, but this is the gear that I use. So I use a Tama Star Classic.
Okay. What sizes?
This is my latest one that I'm using currently is custom. So I use 8x6, 10x6, 12x6. Okay. So they're really hyper drive toms. So yeah, it's really fast and really they're all parallel. So it really gives me a nice balance to move from left to right. I don't have to shift things. And the floor toms are really fantastic. They so basically they're 14x14, 16x16 square size toms. They really give me a nice bottom end, nice punch, nice body, and it's a Babinga shell. And the two kick drums I use are a 22x20 and a 20x18 bass drum. So yeah, fantastic.
Okay, and cymbals, what models do you use?
Cymbals, I use a variety of things basically. So I use Zildjian, of course. Big love to Tina from Zildjian, and I use a various amount of Ks. I use Orientals. I use AE-FX. As a lot of my fans know that they know me for my stack combinations. So I use a lot of stacks because just really good accent cymbals, and I think it's just, as well as its current thing, it's just a fantastic sound for me. I like emulating white noise electronical sounds, clap sounds from cymbals. Why not? And just experimenting, man. So I literally K's, A's, A custom EFXs, K Light series. My favorite hats at the moment, I'm using two ranges. I'm using the K Light 15-inch hats, and also the 16-inch, so not 2, 3. And the other ones that I use predominantly in clinics are pocket hats, the Avidas pocket hats, or as Gerald Hayward always says, shout out to Gerald, he always calls them the pepperoni hats. It's got little pepperonis in them. But
I saw him only last week, so
yeah, and I found out from Tina that he was playing along to one of my tracks that I wrote for him.
Oh really?
So, yeah, so it was called Stomp It. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing how that went, and he's fantastic player, and
he is,
and really a lovely friend and a great supporter of what I do as well. So yeah.
Right. Okay, skins. What models do you like?
Skins. I love Evans, hands down. Evans for me is the most durable head for me. Perfect combination for Tama. So I use currently on my Babinga kit, I'm using the new red hydraulic heads, and I think for those, please check out on my Instagram, how they sound. I've got some previews of my video coming up for, actually for GoPro, so you'll see you'll see the kit in its entirety, and also you'll be able to listen to how it sonically sounds very nice within the blend of songs. It's quite punchy. My sound is quite punchy, but you get a little bit of body from it. So red hydraulic heads for me. Bass drum, I use the EMAD. I think that's a go-to for most drummers nowadays. And I'm a metal snare guy, so I have two. So let me sit corrected with the two snare head combinations that I use. So my main snare is a 13, and a lot of you guys ask about my depth of snare. So it's a 13 by 6.5. I use a Starphonic steel snare, and I think they're really, really great. And with the heads, I always use a hybrid head because it's just like, it's almost like a slap in the face, you know. Not too harshly, but it's just lots of power, effortless, and I'm quite different in terms of my setup. So my where my floor tom would be my second snare, but it's a 14 by 8 snare, so it's a bit deeper, but I just literally take the snare off, and I've almost got that tom feel. So with that head,
but slightly more ringy, right?
Yeah, almost ringy, yeah. But that's not a metal snare, so it's a Babinga snare, and I use a either a black chrome, just a really thick, dense head. So it's like almost muffled, but it gives you that nice natural low end. So black chromes usually are the one that I use because they're described as very good low end response heads.
Right.
And 360, they're 360. So when you spin them around the bearing edge, you've got it's spinning. It's not staying still, it's spinning. So you know that it's perfectly balanced. So yeah, Evans.
Snares, they tend to be quite personal, and very often players who have deals with different makers, they still use different snares.
Yeah.
What's it like for you?
I'm a snareaholic. And again,
it is a fetish, isn't it?
It is a fetish. I think for us drummers, we have to, own up to it. So we tend to try to find, everyone has a sound in specific, but it's also something that it is personal. It's a relationship that you build within. For me personally, it's my main snare all the time. I've been drawn to 13-inch snares for a long time, and Tama are now making me something that's 13-inch by 9, which is because I like the deeper thing, because it just gives me that more body and contrast. So I think snares have always been a go-to thing for me. I mean I have an endless amount, and I forever go with my Tama snares. And for live, I use certain types of snares. Like for me, wood snares are for things that are just a different thing. It's not so bitey. It's just more controlled. You can play really nice pop songs or ballads and things like that. But for my sort of music, it's got that progressive fusion, orchestral. I want things that are just like, again, cutting. So I use like metal snares such as brass or steel. Those sort of things are you can never have too many snares. It's always good to have that as vocabulary for when you're starting out as a drummer. It's an essential tool. Think of it as a pen knife.
It's true.
Yeah. So.
And that's the kick drum and the snare is
Absolutely.
the ones that people have to listen to throughout the entire song.
Exactly.
And then the next one, and the next one, and the next one.
Exactly. Well, funny enough, there was a trick that I had a mentor when I was younger, and I didn't have many lessons with him, but he's always said to me, your kick drum and your snare drum is the biggest relationship you will ever have with your drum kit. Even if your toms sounded ridiculously awful, if your kick drum and snare drum sounds great, your toms will sound nice. So I just kind of went with that, and a lot of people ask about my tuning on my kit, and I get good comments about it because I've always focused on the heartbeat, which is kick and snare. So you're absolutely right with
I probably extend that to the hats as well, because
absolutely,
it's you may have you know, not such a good crash or ride or whatever, but the hats have to be, you know.
It's the three that, you know, the three combination kick, snare, hat, which are the most fundamental instruments out of the drums. It's what creates your heartbeat. It's what creates the sound. And a lot of people try to ask this question, especially on my in my clinics. They ask me, you know, how did you get that sound? And I've always said, kick, snare, hi-hat. Find your voice, find what you are balanced with, what your body feels and what transcends. You know, you could be heavy with your hi-hat, but you got to make sure your bass is balanced with that, and your kick and your snare. So just, you know, work around what your body transcends. Kick, snare, hat. There you go.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, sticks. Big Firth.
Yeah.
What models?
So I use two models currently. So I'm using the Peter Erskine ride stick, and I'm using the Pete Lockett drum jam sticks. I like tips to be, this is going to be kind of like, when you start talking about sticks, it's always awkward because it's like girth, length, thickness, weight. So yeah, apologies, you know, for if it's a family show. So I'm more, I like sticks with more of a pretty much like an end, like just a very minimal tip. Because I've always played with using my fingers, so my technique is finger controlled. So the Pete Lockett drum jammers I use predominantly for groove based work. It's got a bit more weight, I can, you know, chop around with it a bit more, and it lets me flow a bit more. A lot of people get surprised because I play with a very little rebound, but I still manage to maintain speed, but that's purely because I was always practicing on dead surfaces, so I could play on the drums effortlessly with speed, with that sort of running through my head, you know. So the drum jammer is that sort of thing, the more of the groove kind of thing. The Peter Erskine thing was more for articulation, because the ride stick, that Peter Erskine ride stick has really nice articulation. It's a very pointed tip. So I could really get nice nuances from the ride cymbal, which was predominant for me, and also I could shoulder in, and it was a good weight. So it's a jazz stick. I play the opposite of jazz. So you know, it's a very good combination. So I recommend those sticks for anyone, and hopefully soon, like, you guys may be able to see you know, a unique stick from Kaz Rodriguez.
Right.
So
okay.
Joe Tester.